We're Batman at 89.
Hello, and welcome once again to Batman at 89, the podcast where we rocket through the streets of Tim Burton's 1989 Batman film, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
And I am the other one, John Parker. Hello.
How are you, John?
Yeah, I'm all right. Same old. I've got the hip problem, and the bladder, but otherwise I'm fine. Yeah.
Jesus, sorry I asked. Jeez. But today, this Friday, we are joined sadly for the final time in this film, at least, by Movies by Minute podcasters, host of the Mogwai Minute, Neil Brown.
Joined sadly this minute by Neil Brown.
Yes, sadly. Let's just get it over with, Neil. All right?
Why is this guy back? God damn it.
Wait, hold on. Batman at 89? I thought this was Batman at 66.
Well, a lot of crossover. So, this is sadly there's nothing to do with trying to not throw a bomb onto some ducks in this one. But, if you want to talk about that.
I think we've just set our hiatus episode there with Neil as the guest. So, coming
I like
soon.
that show. Yeah, that's cool. That's fine.
Today we're here to talk about minute 66, almost the number of the beast.
Almost.
Quite a long way on. 600.
Only 600.
But of Tim Burton's slightly more serious Batman. Minute 66 begins with the Batmobile charging through the city and ends 1 minute later with the Batmobile stopping its charge throughout the city. So,
almost.
But it's going to collide with something. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a little slightly more exciting than that. But,
now, Niall, have you got a Batman Omen connection? Because it is almost 666, as you say. Now, if you haven't, by the end of the show, I want you to come up with legitimate.
Off the top of my head, I think there might have been talk of
Sam Neill,
of Gregory Peck playing Alfred at one point. So it could legitimately be an actual. Plus, actually, David Warner is in the Omen, and David Warner does the voice of Ra's al Ghul in the Batman animated series. So there you go.
My God.
It's all connected.
How do you do it? It's all connected.
The number of the beast.
Unbelievable.
We're all going to die tonight.
At least we went out on a high.
Well, tragically, these episodes will never be aired, so people won't know that we knew.
But in years to come, some archaeologist will, come along. He'll dig up my old hard drive and be like, "What's on here? What's this? Batman?"
Somehow piece together that my hard drive is connected in some way. He'll edit them together.
Genius. In fact, the people listening to this show don't know that we actually died about 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to know how to start this minute because it's literally just like the Batmobile charges away. It zooms down the street and it turns a corner. Yeah. So it's one of the more action-packed minutes that we've personally had to deal with because we've not had this level of it's just action. There's no intricacy really.
Yeah. It is a toughie. I mean, I have got the specs of the Batmobile. I'm not going to go through all of them because it's insane. I don't know who come up with all of this and thought it was necessary, for instance. But as you can see, the Batmobile's got it's got quite an engine, and its acceleration from 0 to 60 is 3.7 seconds, and its maximum speed is 530 kilometers an hour with the booster. It's very specific that with the booster. Doesn't say what it is without the booster.
But that acceleration doesn't seem awesome these days.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure a Tesla can do that.
My thinking, it must be the weight. And that is one spec it doesn't actually mention here. It must be the thing is so heavy that it needs that jet to move.
Well, actually, and it's funny that you mentioned heavy because, I mean, my thoughts about this car are that, first of all, it's my favorite Bat vehicle across any of the Bat genre, right? The whole genre, everything. This is the number one thing for me. I love this car so much. It's just awesome.
Hey.
And one of the key things about that is that it looks heavy. And when it's driving, when you see it driving, it feels heavy to you as the viewer as well.
Yeah.
Right? It's got a physical weight about it. Especially later on. I think it's a bit later on in the movie. Well, it is, because we're only just starting to see it. So it is definitely later on in the movie. You'll see that there are shots where you just see Batman pressing the accelerator down. Right? And it's just that it's so meaty, this accelerator. It's not an easy thing from just to press it. You really feel the force that he's got to put down on this thing to get this thing to shift. And I think it's in stark contrast to the next one that we see in this series, in Batman Forever, right? Which kind of bounces around.
I knew you were saying that.
Right? It's just it's all over the place, this thing. And it's got those silly, like, flappy fins on the back, and it's just it's like glowing from the inside. This looks terrible.
I'm gonna have to.
I mean,
I love the Batman Forever Batmobile myself. It's actually like one of my favorite Batmobiles.
I like it, but I'm in the middle of it. I like it in a certain way. Because this Batmobile feels real. Like, as you were saying, it's got weight, physicality. Like that, it looks like what it is, basically. It doesn't just feel like
Niall
a prop.
is entitled to his incorrect
I will
opinion.
give you
It's
the
Oh, yeah. It is a cool Batmobile in that movie. Like, it works for that.
I will give you the flappy things on the top. But there's a scene where they're separated and they're flapping, and it looks ridiculous. But when they're joined together, and it's just the one big sort of Batwing spike thing, that looks cool. That's like I really love that Batmobile. I think it's way better. Like, it's this one, that one, and then maybe the Tumbler, and then all the other Batmobiles I can kind of take or leave. Oh, I guess it's only really two more after that. But
no, you've missed. You've forgotten about the Batman the Animated Series.
Oh yeah,
because that is a beautiful Batmobile.
That one I always had a slight problem with, and it does it looks cool. And I remember my next door neighbor had a really cool toy of it and stuff. And
nice.
But it always struck me is that it's so unwieldy because it's so long in the front that you'd have to
huge.
Yeah, but you'd have to really, he must have had to do extra driving training to kind of make up for knowing when to turn exactly, because he has to make up for this huge bonnet at the front of it. So it just seemed a little unwieldy to me. It's yeah.
But you can imagine that's the kind of thing Batman would do.
Oh, totally.
He would master this vehicle and he would make it look awesome and maybe it needs all that space for all the kind of gadgets.
Yeah. I assume it might just be sheer
enormous
engine power is probably what's.
But he can do that because he's mastered that vehicle as he masters everything.
Well, the length of this Batmobile now is, this one here is 260.7 inches, which is very precise. But that sounds like this one's pretty big as it is, and it's 94.4 inches wide.
Well, I presume these are accurate snaps because they actually made it. So
it was a real physical.
Yeah,
thing.
I'm not sure about the 500 and whatever kilometers an hour, but presumably the size and the weight possibly as well is accurate. Do you guys? I know you probably want to save a lot of the kind of chat about this Batmobile in particular and the Batmobile in Batman lore for kind of future discussion, because you're gonna have to talk for a number of minutes about this Batmobile. But do you know, obviously it's an Anton first design, right? Do you know who built it? Was it built off an actual car chassis and they just kind of put the livery on the side?
Yeah, apparently. Well, the information I have here is it was built upon a Chevrolet Impala chassis with a Chevy V8 engine, and based on modified from a 1970 Corvette body when previous development with a Jaguar and Ford Mustang failed. A second car was based on an Oldsmobile Cutlass convertible.
Wait, so they made a second one for filming, but off a different chassis?
Yeah, maybe it could have been for long shots, right. Or some maybe for slightly less practical use. It's it's for the background or whatever.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Well, it didn't go smoothly anyway, because I researched and found out that, for instance, Batman's ears were too big to clear the roof when he gets into the Batmobile. So when he's in the Batmobile, he has to wear a different cowl that has shorter ears on. Because otherwise the ears were poking into the...
Is that evident in the movie at all? Like, we do see a shot
you
here.
Can't.
Oh, actually, it was actually in the previous... It was in Wednesday's minute, wasn't it? When they're getting in, and he pulls the top...
Yeah.
Comes back to cover them. And actually, you see Vicki Vale kind of cower, actually. I forgot to mention this on Wednesday. One of my notes was that it's interesting that when the hood, the canopy top on the Batmobile kind of slides back to close, she kind of cowers because she sees it coming, and she's on the fetal position. Yeah, is there a bit where you can see that he's now wearing the short hood, like a short-eared cowl?
I couldn't notice, I'll be honest. I did look back, and I think maybe just for the purposes of getting in that Batmobile that one time in that one scene, they just went with it and were like, yeah, okay, it'll crush the ears for a second, that's fine. Yeah, and then when he's in the car in this minute, you can sort of see, his head and his ears and stuff, but you can't really tell it's any different. I mean, if you put them side by side, maybe a few inches or something, but it looks good enough. You wouldn't really pick up on it.
Well, you're going to get some close-ups in future minutes when they get back in the car. So, I mean, spoilers, they're going to get out of the car, and then they're going to get back in the car. Oh, no. So maybe
I thought it was purely in the car now, like Mad Max.
Yeah, he just runs over the Joker and it's the end of it. But no, maybe you can keep an eye out later on in the show. See if that's evident.
I'm happy they made that compromise though, to not just shorten his ears in general, because it's like I'm a fan of a long bat ear. Like, I like it when he's got the ears are more dominant. So if they had gone like, oh, we better shave down his ears just throughout the film to make up for that, I would have been, maybe I was a kid, I would have just adapted him, and maybe I would have been a fan of the shorter ear now. But so
you like the Neil Adams kind of Batman?
Oh yeah, very much. I do really love that. The longer the ear, the better for me, really. But and it's kind of like
so the Chris Nolan Batman, you're not a fan of?
No, I don't. His is okay. It's the Ben Affleck one, but he's got real short, stubby ones. Don't like that. Don't like that Frank Miller look in general. Right. Don't like his bat symbol. Don't like his. I get the practicality of why he's a big hulking guy, but like I like it a bit more. I like the ears long. I like him a bit more svelte.
You like him more sleek. Yes, a bit more svelte. That's a good word.
See, I prefer a shorter ear. I'm going to be controversial.
Schism.
I like the little stubbies. Yeah. We're going to have to fight now.
Wearing your respective...
I didn't realize you were...
bat helmets.
Yeah.
It's like I did only 66 episodes in. This has been revealed now. What the hell am I doing this show with you for if we can't even agree on the bat ear?
Screw you. Short-eared heathen.
See, this is why I don't like that... what's the Batman one in the future? The Batman
Beyond.
Batman Beyond. I don't like the look of that thing. No, I'm not saying I don't like Batman Beyond. I don't like the look.
He's got those little short pointy ears. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They're weird, though. They're not... I don't know. But
one
of the few things I like in the new ones is...
I'm confused now.
Yeah.
No, but his ears are quite long in the future one, aren't they?
They're like weird... Yeah, they're very strange, pointy things. Yeah. And I didn't know Niall was such a fan of a dominant ear. I didn't know that was your thing. I'll be honest. No, this is causing problems.
The thing is, because the Batman Beyond outfit, though, in that animation, it looks great. And then if you get the Arkham skin of the Batman Beyond outfit, it looks terrible. And people are convinced it's amazing. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's the best skin they've got." It's like, no, because one, it's so
no, they're not allowed.
It's so form-fitting when he's got his back turned to the camera. You can see it's like in the crevices of his ass and everything. I was like, I don't want to see Batman's ass. This is terrible. And then because he's not got a cape, and it's like, well, the cape's like half the costume. That's the coolest part. So like, no, I'm not a fan. In the show Batman Beyond, yeah, it looks okay. If you take it outside of that and you do any of your cosplays or any of presenting them in any other media, I'm not a fan of that outfit at all. But
I think I'm with you on that.
Weird. Well, the only other thing I'll say here about this Batmobile right now, before we try and chat about something else, I guess, is this particular Batmobile, the exact one, was later seen in Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman.
Wow.
Yeah, it was in one episode called "Don't Tug on Superman's Cape." Well, it was an episode which showed that some collectors had apparently stolen the Batmobile. Now, I haven't watched this in a very long time, so I'm not sure if they were trying to sell it or what. But the last time I saw this show was probably when it was first on TV, so it's been a while.
Oh, we had a super fan of the show in Kit Flemons, who was on earlier on in the show.
Yes.
But the only person I know who still owns the VHS tapes of Lois and Clark. But,
Crumbs.
So I guess, does that mean that technically that's Dean Cain Superman and Michael Keaton Batman, they're in canon with each other? Like, if you have to ask about, there's never, what if Burton had done Superman? Technically, Dean Cain Superman is the Superman in this universe, if that Batmobile is in the show.
Yeah. I mean, although, I think I've said this before, I'm not such a big fan of these two crossing over, because they seem like two different worlds. Batman still feels kind of real. Like, you could imagine someone maybe, not going to these lengths, but maybe doing this kind of thing. Whereas Superman, he's literally like an alien god on this planet. So it's a completely different thing. I don't know why people always mix them. I wish they were just two separate.
Oh, it's just because it's like the DC's two crowning people. So it's like, you got to get them together. Well, three with Wonder Woman. So you kind of have to get them together, I guess, at some point. But
Wonder Woman kind of works with Superman, I think. But again, keep all of these away from Batman. He's in his own thing.
But the beauty of the crossover is that Wonder Woman and Superman are such, have such unbelievable power. And Batman doesn't have any. Yet he holds his own against them both. And arguably can beat them both because he knows how to.
Yeah.
And it's his intelligence and that's his real strength. And that's why I like the crossover, because this mere mortal is standing there next to these two gods, and he is equal to them, if not better.
Yeah, that's a cool way of looking at that. Yeah.
But there's the DC animated universe movie Doom, in which Batman has a contingency plan for all of these superheroes, his fellow superheroes, should they go rogue. And Randall Savage infiltrates via, I think it's Mirror Man who uses, but they get into the Batcave, which I think is crazy, but they do, and they steal these plans that Batman has, and then they use them. And they all work until Batman figures out what's going on and saves the day. But I mean, he has a contingency plan, and he beats Superman because he has a kryptonite ring, and he has kryptonite, and he knows how to use it. He's not stupid like every Superman villain who from time to time acts as. I mean, Lex Luthor's always got kryptonite kicking around, doesn't he? But he never makes it actually effective. He uses it against Superman.
This is like, all I have to do is put it on a big chain and put it around his neck. You'll never get that off.
Just hit him in the face with it. That seems to work.
That is something I'm not keen on with Superman, to be honest, is the kryptonite thing, because whenever you just need to put him in any danger of any kind, the villain's got some kryptonite. Yeah. Oh, okay. It's a MacGuffin,
but it's necessary because he's so uber powerful. Like, you can't come up with a baddie. And DC never have. They've never come up with a baddie that can match or beat Superman without using kryptonite. Well, maybe Darkseid. I think that's why they tried to make Darkseid as crazy powerful as he is. But even then,
you've got to basically.
But even then, Darkseid's powers you never really know what they are, because it's never really explained. Whereas everyone knows exactly what Superman's powers are.
Yeah.
Well, they know them, but also, no matter what situation he's in, if they need to just make up a new power on the spot, they will. Like, you can do this now.
True.
Okay.
That's true.
He just never did it before. It's fine.
Yeah. I think I've heard people say that's Superman's one weakness. Like his power is only limited to the things we haven't seen him do yet, which is that's not to say that he can't do them either. It's just like we haven't seen him do them yet, so I guess he can't do them. He might be able to, but we don't know.
Well, I don't want this to sound negative, because we love all of these, so we're just nitpicking because that is the nature of this damn show. You nitpick.
I don't. I've never been a big fan of Superman. I think he's an idiot. He's not. This is why I have a lot of love for Batman, because he is the underdog, and compared to these guys, and he just uses his brains and his smarts and his intelligence. and that outweighs all of their superpowers. And I think
exactly
that's. I mean, you know, we're in my kind of like my Friday minute, so I guess we're talking about why I love Batman, and that's it. That's why I love him, and I think he's. I don't know. He's. I know what you guys were talking earlier in the week about a great Batman movie or cartoon or whatever. Maybe you see Batman a bit less, and maybe he's overused a bit much. And I think that's probably right. But it must be so difficult for a filmmaker making a Batman movie or the director of a Batman cartoon to not use him, because he's just there, isn't he? And you just think, oh well, we could just get him to do this and this and this. But so it must be so tempting.
Oh yeah, 100% agree.
I mean, if you were writing it, you'd be putting him in every scene, left and right and left and right. Yeah, you've got to really stop yourself, I think.
Yeah.
I wonder though, with the actual live action films though, you wonder if they have to kind of dial it back, because it's like, well, an actor's gonna have to be in that outfit the whole time, and it's sort of business like, well, one gets to show their face and they'll be uncomfortable in the cowl the whole time. It's like maybe that could be a part of like why try to not have him in every scene. So, but I don't know if the screenwriters are considerate of the actor though. They're just like, oh, the hell with them. Let's just do what I say. But
well, they could just stick him in a car, and that would be fine by me, because this is what they do for this particular minute we're talking about, and this is my favorite Batmobile, as I mentioned earlier in the show. I'm not a fan of the Tumbler at all.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember what Ben Affleck's Batmobile looks like.
No, I don't at all. Except for those like machine guns it has or something.
No, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not very distinct at all. It's just like it's sort of like a flat. It's kind of like if you flattened out the Tumbler.
Right.
That's kind of like what it is. Like it's
brilliant. Good work, guys.
Yeah. Well, this one though, actually, I forgot to mention this. This one has some other weird features.
Oh.
Well, it's weird that they specify these in the specs, because it says, well, there's a couple of normal ones mixed in here, but I'll read it. It says 2-seat cockpit featuring aircraft-like instrumentation.
Yes.
A passenger's side monitor, self-diagnostic system. Okay. CD recorder and voice command operation. It's like the CD recorder. Hold on a minute.
To be fair, CD recorder comes in Batman Returns in a big way.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. But why does it need to be a CD?
That was the time, though, wasn't it? That's just a reflection of the time.
Is it Batman? He could have some kind of other. Then again, I suppose you don't want to be using your own sort of format that's incompatible with the Gotham Police.
Yeah.
They need to be able to plug it in.
I guess it is
back. Good point.
Back in the early 90s, too, the idea of like digital media could have been like, what? What do you mean it's not physical? There's no physical media? What the hell are you talking about? It's like, it's just a file? What?
Yeah, but Batman could have invented that, or invented the mini disc or something. I don't know.
Oh, it would have been so dated if he had a mini disc, though. I mean, it's dated enough that it's a CD, but if it was a mini disc, it would have been just like.
Well, this is before the mini discs, but he could have had something like.
No, I mean, like it would have been dated now. Like it would have just been like, holy crap, that's like the most early '90s thing I've ever seen.
John, if this is your gripe with the Batmobile, I feel like it's a little misguided. Well, why is it a CD? Why didn't he invent this such and such a thing that we all now have?
Batman. He's there burning discs. I suppose that is a bit ahead of its time.
He probably gets
this is 89. People didn't burn CDs in 89, so I suppose it is futuristic.
Oh man, we won't again. There's a whole other film until we get into it. But he has that nice bit of when he has a CD, is bit of like is DJ Deck style where he's like waka waka the actual physical CD disc. It was like I don't think anyone's ever done that ever. Like I don't think you could do it, but. Again, we'll get to that in due time. So, but
I do have all sort of specs on the Arsenal, but maybe I'll save them for a later.
Yeah, because I mean, there's near enough a full week coming up where it is just all Batmobile. So, but I will say
there is one thing that the Batmobile does in this minute, and that is the grapple hook.
Yeah.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
Can I just tell you guys that when I used to play the Commodore 64 game of Batman the movie, This being this movie, right? I think it was called Batman the movie. I think that's why I'm calling it Batman the movie, not just Batman, but it might just be Batman. But the Batmobile level to this bit, right, was as far as I could get in the game because the bat was so flipping hard. You had to do this maneuver, right? The grapple hook maneuver about 20 times. And you had to nail it each time. And if you messed it up one particular time out of these 20 or however many times you had to do it, you crashed and you had to go back to the start. And you only had like 3 or 4 lives or 5 lives or something to do it. And then you had to start the entire game again. This is how brutal games were back then, right? You guys know.
Oh, they were unforgiving. They were crazy.
So I never got further than this. It was such a hard maneuver. Sorry, no. It was such a hard maneuver. And you would get to like you'd nail it like 10 times in a row, and then you'd just get to the 11th and you'd mistime it by like a fraction of a second, and it was that precise, and you would just spin off and crash, or the Joker's guys would catch up to you. Oh man,
you really do forget like how as you said brutal games were back then, because the whole business that if you died, you went back to the start. The very start. I remember like a couple of years back I replayed Sonic 2 and it was so difficult and I was like, how the hell did I pass this as a kid? Like it was so I was only doing it because on the Xbox you could save like at the level and stuff. Like it was but like it was a bit near the end you have to infiltrate Robotnik's like blimp thing. And it's all jumping on little tiny platforms and you miss that, you're dead instantly. And it's just
I just got a SNES Classic. Right, the mini one.
Oh yeah,
and
I'm jealous.
I played Ghouls and Ghosts, and
oh no, that's the worst. That's the horrible.
I used to have it on the Commodore 64, and I hated it because it was so hard. And so I thought, right, come on, how hard can it be? So I put it on. So I load it up. Right, I click on this one, and I go to the options, and I put it on the easy level. Right, so easy, medium, hard, whatever. I go easy. Number of lives, I go maximum 10 lives. Number of continues, 7 continues, maximum allowed, right? I can't get off the first level. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how to do it. It's just it's crazy.
They didn't care then. They thought that was part of the fun. Like actually thinking about Sonic 2 now, when you brought that up. Because I played that again recently when they did the re-release of the Mega Drive. What was it? The Mega Drive Collection.
Oh yeah.
A few years ago. So I got that. And see, when I was a kid, I could play Sonic 2. I could collect all of the Chaos Emeralds.
Oh, yeah.
I could complete it in one sitting.
Wow.
Now I'm getting old. I think my skills have diminished. I can barely finish the game just at all, like without collecting any damn emeralds. Oh, jeez. I don't know how I did it. It's horrible.
I mean, like, it's those old computer consoles, because it's odd in that, like, you're spending money to buy a thing that is inevitably going to make you furious, because you will end up just being like, what? God damn it! Just like, and it's a thing that, like, even going in, like, elements of, like, the Arkham games, I was so looking forward to those games when they were coming out and stuff, when I got them. And then, I knew internally, though, it's like, there's some bits I'm going to be so angry at this game because I know it's going to be near impossible to pass. But there's so much, again, it's mixed up with the joy of playing as well. But there is bits of, like, I don't know, man. I still have the mental scars from Skull Monkeys and PS1 and just like, you just couldn't pass the damn thing. It was impossible.
Have you played all of those Arkham games?
Yeah. All of the ones on, like, there's little ones for, like, sort of kind of handheld consoles and stuff that I haven't. There's a Return to Blackgate or something like that. I haven't played that.
But the big ones,
yeah, screw them.
So, like, what was Arkham City the last one? Or
but the Asylum, City, Origins, and Night. I played all those. Those are the four big ones. So loved them all. Really, like, literally loved them all. Like, people really dump on Arkham Origins. I actually think it's a pretty great game, but. Have you indulged yourself, Neil? Or
I loved Arkham Asylum. I loved the first one because it was unlike anything you'd ever seen in a Batman game before. And would I be right in saying that was PS3? That was PS3, right? Or Xbox? You're Xbox guys, whatever the Xbox equivalent is. Yeah, I mean, it was awesome, but it was beautifully contained. right? It wasn't the big sprawling thing that Arkham City was, and that's what I didn't like about Arkham City.
Oh, right.
It was too off the rails, and I mean, some people like that stuff, but to me, that just means, all right, you're going to sink an extra 50, 100 hours into this thing, going all over the city, and I don't like that. I don't have 50, 100 hours to sink into this thing. I just get bored, and I liked how tight Arkham Asylum was, but then I haven't played any the other subsequent ones.
They're all good, but I'm with you. I still think the first one is the best to me because it's so perfectly paced and plotted and whatnot. Whereas in the other one, you can just spend 5 hours flying around the city, which is fine if that's what you want to do.
That's like I love the gliding about the city and stuff. Like that is, I think City's my favorite. And if that's one of your problems with that, the other ones definitely won't be for you because they just get bigger. No, but City does have the kind of it's just the whole side quest thing. It's always bugged me because it's like
the Riddler puzzle things.
No, not that. It's like literally
the main side ones.
There's like you'll be like the whole plot line is like, oh, Batman's been poisoned. He needs to go and get a cure, and you have to be like, Deadshot's here and the Mad Chatter's here. It's all like he doesn't have time for that. Just go. He's dying for Christ's sake.
That's right. They landed it on you all at the same time or too quickly, and they should have paced it a lot better.
Yeah, it's just more like you're asking me to go off and investigate these other things. It's like I'm trying to get into the mindset of the character here, so I can sort of play as him. And it's like, well, why would he go off and do that? It's just like it doesn't make any sense to me. But
well, tying that back into this in a way is that, of course, in the newest one, you get the Batmobile for the first time, which is very, very interesting, very cool. And when you see the Batmobile do this weird turn with the hook here, it sort of power slides around the corner, which made me think of Mario Kart. So I would like a DC racing game. Now that's my thing. I want that.
Yeah. The thing is, if you did that, though, everyone would just want the Batmobile, so you wouldn't have many other cars to pick from.
You'd think
I guess unless you did.
But they made a Sonic All-Stars racing game, and that was actually pretty fun, and you didn't always play as Sonic. So, yeah.
I guess actually, cool you have the Bat bike and maybe, I'm sure Rob probably
and make Mr. Freeze could, like, freeze the part of the track he's on, and it'll speed him up because he'll slide along the ice.
He freezes behind him, and then the others all slide off.
And they slide off. Oh, even better. Like the banana skin in Mario Kart. Oh, look, we're onto something. Get this made.
Batman the racing game.
But as we see here, like actually in the action of the minutes, we do have like the cars slide off, and there's a bit of a collision with a truck that seems to be carrying cabbages, or lettuce and little wooden cages. Like that seems to be the whole.
I went with cabbages, and I was quite upset because as a kimchi fan, I was very upset. I wanted to
wasted cabbage.
I could make some. Yeah, I could make some good kimchi.
But I will say, because I've got, I knew we'd be focusing on the Batmobile, but I did go and find out some info on the Joker's goons car, which we, this is the purple body and the green hood. The thing is, because when I looked into it, there's usually a whole list of like the different films that this has been featured in. Because it's the type of car they drive is a Dodge 3700 GT. Apparently, it's Spanish made because it seems to be beyond the Return of the Saint. That was the only other film that in the list of films given that wasn't European and that I'd actually heard of. But and I was like, oh, there must be just no information on this car in particular until I went on the Wikipedia and there's a section saying notoriety. I was like, oh, what's this? And apparently, Spanish Prime Minister Admiral Luis Carrero Blanco, who served under Generalissimo Francisco Franco, was assassinated in 1973 while riding in an armored Dodge 3700 GT by an 80-kilogram bomb planted by the Basque terrorist group ETA. The car, whose armored structure resisted the dynamite bomb, was blown over the roof of a building, landing in the building's inner courtyard. Blanco and his driver died, obviously. And the car is now on display at the Spanish Army Museum in Toledo, which is very morbid, but whatever.
Wow, it must be a mess.
Yeah, geez, what's left?
Unless it's just like it's completely intact, and like that's how damn good that car is. It's just like it survived all that.
To the car.
Yeah, because I thought your story there was pointing out how terrible the car is, but maybe I'm on the wrong track there.
Yeah, well, they're saying it survived the blast. It was just the fault of flying over the building that did the damage.
Survived.
So.
The occupants all died, but the car survived. That's the main thing.
Are they trying to say that if a nuclear explosion happened, you wouldn't survive inside a fridge? Is that what you're getting at?
Well, I mean, that's been proven. Although my whole business of that was just like, how would he completely seal the fridge? Would you have to be holding the door shut, I guess, the whole time? And it's let's not get into that.
But I think you could do that because you got like racks on the inside, haven't you? Like to hold things. Maybe like you just pull on one of the rack that the milk is in. I don't know.
I mean, it still feels though, unless it's like some seal. As soon as you're like twirling through the air, that door is gonna fly open.
Hold on tight.
Even with you holding it, yeah, because the back will fall out from behind you anyway. So it's
well, if you fly literally miles through the air like he did and roll 1,000 times, yes. But yeah, let's not get into this. There's another team who will be tackling this in due time.
Yeah, are they actually doing that one, or is that where they go?
Oh,
no,
absolutely,
no, they're doing it.
Oh, they're doing it. Oh, okay.
You think they'll get away with not doing that?
And I sound like I hate the movie. I actually don't think it's that bad. But anyway, Batman. Can I just point out that I love how the goons are persisting in shooting at the Batmobile, even though absolutely nothing has happened yet.
And the cars are all over the place. Like the Joker's cars are all over the road. They go left, right, everywhere.
Drive through a bin at one point.
They do.
Seem to deliberately drive into a bin.
The classic garbage smash.
Yeah, but I will say, it all reminded me of, because what the Dodge, that particular Joker car, is also featured in, as you might have seen if you're eagle-eyed, it's in the Lego Batman movie. Oh. It's the Joker's car. Hey. And it's a big old, it's amazing, because it gets, have you two guys, have you seen the Lego Batman film yet? Or
no.
Oh, but it's amazing, but there's a big old, the beginning, there's a whole... The Joker is taking over the city, but he's amassed all the supervillains. So like Bane and Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze and just everybody's there, like the Scarecrow and Clayface and all these people. And then there's a whole big tense thing. And then, of course, the Batmobile comes in and he plays... His whole thing is that, because Will Arnett's Batman, he's got a ghetto blaster with him to play his own song while he's doing everything. And it's an amazing opening number with like a bunch of these Joker cars chasing the Batmobile and them flying around and stuff. And it's just like, it's the greatest love letter to Batman you'll ever see. Because it's just like, even the lyrics are just all like, who has the greatest gadgets? Batman! And it's just him zipping around, kicking everybody's ass at the same time. And like, I remember when I saw that in the cinema, because I just got back from visiting home, and my flat had been broken into. And I was like really shaken up that day. And that night went to see that because to take my mind off it, and just been sitting and watching that bit, but like, oh, this is awesome. And just it was so much joy, that little scene. But those Joker cars though are very heavily prevalent in it, so it just reminded me of that.
Nice.
And so I do highly recommend that film as well if you're looking for something to do with your Sundays.
It reminded you of your flat being broken into.
Yeah. Well, it reminded me of being able to take my mind off that. Yeah.
Ironically, because they put your mind back on
that. I was just expecting Ian McDiarmid sitting there going, ironic. But,
well, with what's happening here after the cabbages, a digger, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know the correct terminology. I'm not a workman. It comes out of nowhere. Will the Batmobile crash into it? Yeah. Oh, but my question is it a coincidence that the digger comes along, or is it manned by Joker's men?
I think in the script it says it's a night construction crew. So I guess...
Yeah, in the script it does.
And, I think it's probably... I don't think they would have had the... It seems a little bit too quick for them to have the wherewithal to go steal that thing and park it in front of him. I think it's just an unfortunate coincidence that this has occurred.
These guys have zero wherewithal. So, yeah, absolutely.
No subtlety or sort of planning, is it? Just chase after him and shoot.
Just drive everywhere. Left, right, let's go everywhere.
I'm disappointed that we didn't get, because of this whole chase and the fact that, like, all this, cabbages and mulch and stuff has fallen on their car, was genuinely expected Bob to come out and just be like, manure. I hate manure, or something like it. Was really had that vibe.
I hate cabbages.
Just be like, oh man, they missed a trick, but whatever. Fan edit, we can do it ourselves. Just somehow digitally insert Bob into a scene like that. So
do it. Put him in everything.
Well, that's why he needs to reply to you on Twitter, so he can do some reshoots.
Oh, it's not that he just doesn't have a Twitter himself. It's like if I would be pestering him every damn day if he did. But
Bob the
we need a Bob revival.
Yeah.
I don't understand why that character has not been revisited at least a couple of times.
It seems like it's such a prime thing for, like, you think at some point in a thing like the Lego Batman film or something, some animated special or some version, they would have in a comic or something, they would have had a little the Joker's got a goon called Bob. I was going to say the Joker's got a boob, but
well, he's a boob.
Yeah. But it seems like that should have been a prime, unless there has been, and I've not come across it yet. But
I want an old Bob the Goon who's retired and he's sitting by the fireplace. This is how it starts, and he starts to reminisce about his old goon days, working for the Joker. Maybe then he worked for Mr. Freeze or someone else, and that's how each episode goes in. Bob the Goon telling you a bit about how he.
You're very optimistic.
He could even
remembering of what happens to Bob at the end of this movie, Neil. Unfortunately.
No spoilers. No.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I suppose you have to get.
I guess he could survive that. Just we didn't see him dead. So, but spoilers.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Well, the actual minute does end here.
It does.
I mean, the only other thing I've got specifically, there's two things. One, the original draft is pretty similar to all of this, except that the Joker is also involved in chasing them down, which I thought was a bit like The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they'd been inspired by that idea.
Yeah, could be.
Because he's in the cars and everything. He's not in a truck, but he's in the vehicles. And also, if you notice now, at one point here, a hot dog stand gets destroyed. So the mayor is going to be livid.
Because of the cutscene of him going, oh god damn it, that was my one hot dog stand. How am I going to get the city hooked on these things now?
Exactly. He's been trying to get these hot dogs out to the market, and things just keep stopping him. He's devastated.
This is another side film I totally want. Just the mayor and his hot dog quest of just like him trying to negotiate with the people on the different. Oh, the thing is, it doesn't seem like he negotiates with anybody. He just tells Harvey Dent to do it.
Yeah,
but
the DA apparently has to organize hot dogs for the.
This whole festival has got something to do with prosecuting major crimes. But.
But before we do go, though, because it being the end of the minute, I mean, we need to, of course, ask Neil, our esteemed guest, what is your history of Batman? I mean, you've touched on it a little bit, but of this one specifically, do you have a lot of good memories of seeing this one back in the day?
Any memories of like your flat been broken into and then you watch this film or anything like that?
No, fortunately not. No, this movie, I guess, was my first Batman experience, and I think I'm right in saying, you guys, I'm sure, can correct me if I'm wrong, that in the UK, this movie was the first ever 12 certificate, and obviously they wanted something between kind of PG and 15 as we had in the UK. They wanted that the equivalent of the US PG-13. But yeah, I mean, so in 1989, I was 11 years old, and I went to see this with my brother to the cinema in Whitley Bay, and I was trying to earlier on remember what the name of that cinema was, and I can't remember for the life of me. I'll have to ask my brother next time I speak to him. But we went along, and I was 11 years old, and I remember being really scared, like that I wasn't going to get in because it was 12. And I, my brother kind of rehearsed with me my date of birth to make me like, not to make me 12, but to make me 13 years old, to give it some credibility, and and then the guy on the ticket counter never asked, so we just went straight in, and and it was the first movie that I remember watching where it was just my brother and me. My brother's 4 years older than me, so he had no problem. But yeah, it was the first one that I remember us seeing with no parents, and I was just in love with it from the opening title sequence onwards, and I still am. You know, that Elfman score. What do you get first? You get the Elfman score, and you get the cinematic swoops through that kind of stonework bat sign. You don't really know what it is to start with, and then it pans out slowly, and you see what it is, and that whole thing was just intoxicating to, you know, an 11-year-old. And imagine that in the cinema, you know, with the noise and the big screen, and you're 11 years old, and that was just amazingly powerful to me. And it's a memory that I'll never forget. And there's only two other movies that we were talking a bit about before we started recording about this, and there's only two other movies that I remember from watching around about that age. And well, one was a bit earlier, one was Return of the Jedi, and I just remember that because I was scared in the movie theater every time Darth Vader came on the screen, so I would hide behind the seats in front. And that time my parents were there, I was probably only, what year was that?
83, I think, wasn't it?
83. So,
yeah,
yeah, I was 5. So, you know, old enough to go with your mum, and my mum would have to coax me to come out saying, he's gone, Darth Vader's gone. And then as soon as you can hear him breathing, so I'd be straight back down.
He's back.
And the other one was Terminator 2, because I made a particular point to reserve that at the video store, and went down on the day that came out on VHS, and took it straight home, watched it, and just, you know, was amazed by that movie as well. But this, you know, the other two examples, right? T2 was at home, so different. Return of the Jedi, I was 5 years old, whatever, and that, you know, so different. This, I was 11, so old enough to really have like visceral memories of it, and it, you know, in the movie theater, the noise and the visuals, the size of the screen when you're that age, it's just amazingly powerful, and I'll never forget it.
Oh, that was a great story. Yeah. I was like emotional. I was moved. That was very sweet.
I will also ask briefly, because we've been asking people now, it seems to become part of our thing. Jack Nicholson, do you think he's a sexy man, or do you think no? What's the Neil Brown verdict on not in this film, but just in general?
Do you mean like this age, Jack Nicholson?
No, I mean like at any point in his life. Do you think like, oh yeah, Jack Nicholson was at some time he was a sexy guy?
Yeah, I think so. Like when you look at like, you know, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Last Detail and those kind of that era Nicholson, he had something about him, and he was kind of roguish, right? But he was kind of cocky and roguish. But I think that those are probably appealing characteristics. And yeah, he's not an ugly guy. He's a handsome guy, and I think he's that's the reason why was an actor in the first place. I mean, not maybe in the first place, probably the wrong way to put it, but you know, I think in those days, you know, you as a leading man, well, these days as well, you got to be handsome to a degree. That's probably not 100% true, but it certainly probably doesn't help. It doesn't hurt. But and so I think, you know, he was a leading man back in the day, and he was that for the reason that he was roguish and handsome in that respect.
Yeah, I could see that, definitely.
Right, just about to like get a guest, you know, a show long guest thing, right? Neil Pro Jack Nicholson. Right. Tick.
We will head off, but before we do, Neil, one last time, would you like to tell everybody where they can find you and your wonderful show?
Yeah, thanks. Look, thanks for having me on. It's been a real blast. I've had so much fun all week reminiscing about this. One of my favorite ever movies. So thanks again for having me on.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, your listeners, if they're interested in the movie Gremlins, or if you're not interested in the movie Gremlins and you're interested in just, you know, an Englishman and an American having some sort of chit chat around, and our show turned into somewhat of a cultural exchange.
Yeah, it did.
The series. We are the Mogwai Minute, and we do the same thing here for the movie Gremlins from 1984. And you can find us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all those places. The Mogwai Minute.
Yes, make sure to check it out. I listened to it from day one, and it's all bloody brilliant. So listen. I demand, in fact. So stop listening to ours and switch to that for a bit and then come back. No, don't do that. Listen to both, side by side, alternate. And check us out online. We are at the BatMinute89 Listener Society. We're on Twitter at BatMinute89. And we're also on Instagram and Tumblr. Just look us up on there. I can't be bothered. But do review us on iTunes because it helps us out immensely. And unfortunately, that's it for this week. But we'll be back again on Monday, where we'll have a new guest and a new minute. It will be minute 67 of Tim Burton's Batman.
Next time, a dashing deflator mouse. As the Batmobile screeches to a halt, our endangered duo get out and bolt. As Batman grapples with what to do, will he hook a solution or be squashed by a squad of speeding clods? Find out next week, same Bat Pod.
Different Bat Minute.